Hello, and welcome to Hands-On Embedded Linux, presented by Linux Certified in cooperation with Intellimetrics. This 3-day class will take you step by step through the process of applying Linux to high-performance computing devices. The class is now being presented in a live online format. Unlike on-demand pre-recorded classes, the live format lets you interact with the instructor in real time. In-person classes might require travel. Sessions are scheduled about every month to 6 weeks. Why embed Linux? To begin with, it's probably the most popular operating system in the embedded space right now. A 2015 report from VDC Research claimed that in 2012, Linux powered 56.2% of embedded device unit shipments worldwide. That was expected to grow to 64.7% by 2017. Linux is open source, which means it's free. Well, yes and no. You're free to use the software for whatever purpose you want, but it's not necessarily free of charge. As someone in the community once said many years ago, think free speech, not free beer. There's a large, active, enthusiastic developer community focused on Linux. If you run into a problem, someone has probably already solved it. Here are some of the topics we'll cover in this class. While this is not really an introduction to Linux, we'll take a little time to review the basics just to be sure everyone is on the same page. Then we'll install the class software, including a cross tool chain for the ARM processor, the Eclipse integrated development environment, sample code, and much more. One of our objectives is to mount the file system of the target board over NFS, the network file system, and we'll explain why that's important. We'll take some time to look at the open source integrated development environment Eclipse, with particular emphasis on how it integrates with GDB, the GNU debugger. Next, we'll delve into application development in the cross-development environment that we just installed. We'll explore multi-threaded programming in the context of POSIX threads, and then we'll look at network programming. Having explored application programming, it's time to turn our attention to various tools and components that are part of the Linux ecosystem. We'll begin by configuring and building the Linux kernel. That's the great thing about open source software. You have the source code, so you can do anything you want with it. It turns out that configuring and building the kernel is a great confidence-building exercise for those who are relatively new to Linux. We'll look at BusyBox, which has been called the Swiss Army knife of Linux. The goal of BusyBox is to reduce the storage footprint of an embedded Linux system. Then we'll look at U-Boot, a very popular open source bootloader that is widely used in embedded Linux products. Git is a source code management tool widely used in the open source community. One of the latest trends in the open source embedded world is integrated build environments. The objective is to bring all the disparate components of embedded development into one unified framework. We'll look at two of the most popular projects, Buildroot and Yocto. And then finally, we'll look at system initialization and how to get the application booted up in the final version of our embedded product. It goes without saying that you can't learn computer programming without doing it. With that in mind, about half the class time is devoted to actual programming examples and exercises. During the class, you'll have access to a typical ARM-based embedded target board. This board has Ethernet and serial ports, an LCD display, a multi-channel analog-to-digital converter, and various other features that are common in the embedded Linux space. Your instructor and developer of the class is Doug Abbott. Doug has been an independent consultant in the embedded space for about 25 years and has been teaching classes on various aspects of real-time operating systems and Linux for most of that time. He's the author of 3 books and has spoken several times at the Embedded Systems Conference. To learn more and get the current class schedule, visit the Linux Certified website.